The doors slam open. Cold wind kills half the candles. And she's standing there. Torn dress, wild hair, scratches covering her arms. Every noble in the kingdom freezes. But the Alpha King's head snaps toward her like a wolf spotting prey. He's moving. Crossing the ballroom floor. Noblewomen scramble out of his path. He stops inches from her face and his voice drops lethal. Who tore your gown? Her breath catches. His hand reaches for hers, bloody, trembling, defenseless. Their fingers touch. And every torch in the hall explodes with silver light. Before we dive into this epic love story, hit that subscribe button for Seraphina's romance stories. You won't want to miss what happens next. Trust me, this journey is just beginning.
The grand hall of Ironvale Keep glittered like captured starlight. Crystal chandeliers hung from vaulted ceilings, each holding 100 candles that cast dancing shadows across marble floors polished to mirror perfection. Golden torches lined ancient pillars, creating pools of warm light that made the nobles' jewels sparkle like constellations. Tonight was the choosing ceremony. Every noble house in the realm had gathered, their silks and satins creating a river of carefully controlled ambition. Duchesses in emerald. Countesses in sapphire. Visiting royalty in gold and crimson. But all eyes were on one man. Alpha King Alexandros Valterian stood at the edge of the ballroom like a shadow carved from steel and moonlight. His silver hair fell past his shoulders like liquid mercury. His ice-blue eyes surveyed the crowd with the detached patience of a predator, present, aware, but utterly uninterested. Wolf sigils were carved into his black armor. A fur mantle rested across his impossibly broad shoulders. He was the most powerful alpha in 5 kingdoms. Unmarried. Unclaimed. And completely uninterested in the parade of eligible women before him. Your Majesty, Lady Myrina of Frostspire approached with practiced grace, her sapphire gown trailing like frozen water. Surely you'll honor at least one woman this evening? Alexandros's expression remained unchanged. I appreciate the offer, Lady Myrina. It wasn't a yes. Everyone knew it wasn't a yes. She retreated with wounded pride, joining the growing collection of rejected noblewomen who whispered behind jeweled fans. Duchess Althea of Stormhold. Lady Seraphina of the Northern Peaks. Even Princess Alara from the Southern Fire Courts. Each rejection was polite, controlled, but absolute. He refused her too, someone whispered. This is the 5th year. Does he mean to leave the throne without an heir? The musicians played on, but a noticeable space remained around Alexandros, a circle of fear and profound disappointment. Councilman Barros leaned toward Duke Glenharrow. We're running out of time. He must choose tonight. Alexandros ignored them, brooding and detached. Outside, winter winds howled through the silverwood forests. The great doors at the far end of the hall suddenly burst open. Cold air rushed in violently. Candles flickered and died. Conversation stopped mid-word. Dancers froze. Every head turned. She stood in the doorway, gasping for breath. Evren Hale was not dressed like the other women. Her simple dress was torn at the sleeves and hem, stained with dirt and blood. Her dark curls had come undone, falling wild around her shoulders. Scratches marked her arms. Her palms were scraped raw. She carried no jewels except a small pendant that glowed faintly silver. I'm so sorry, she whispered to the guard. I didn't mean to, I was running. Whispers erupted like wildfire. A commoner? Look at her gown, it's destroyed. She's bleeding. Who let her inside the keep? Alexandros's head snapped toward the entrance. For the first time all evening, something changed in his expression. His ice-blue eyes widened with recognition. His posture shifted. Tension flowed through his frame like lightning. The entire court watched, stunned, as the Alpha King moved. He crossed the ballroom floor with powerful strides, his black coat sweeping behind him. Nobles scrambled out of his path. The torches flickered as he walked. Evren stood frozen, confused by the sudden attention. She'd expected guards to throw her out. She had not expected the king himself to approach. Alexandros stopped 3 feet away. silence swallowed the hall. Up close, she could see the silver flecks in his eyes, the sharp angles of his face, the barely contained power beneath his controlled exterior. He was terrifying and magnificent. His gaze moved over her torn gown, her bleeding palms, the terror in her face. "Who did this to you?" His voice was low, dangerous, yet somehow gentle. "Who tore your gown? Who chased you into my hall?" I didn't mean to enter," Evren stammered. "I only ran because—" "Give me your hand." Gasps rippled through the crowd. Evren stared at his outstretched palm. "Your Majesty, I don't belong here. I'm nobody. Give me your hand." This time, it wasn't a question. Slowly, trembling, she placed her scraped hand in his. His fingers closed around hers, warm, certain, impossibly gentle. The contact sent a shock through her entire body. Electric. Ancient. The torches flickered wildly. A low rumble hummed through the hall. Their pulses synchronized. His breath caught. He felt it. The pull. The old magic whispering. This one. This girl. This torn-gown stranger. The pendant at her throat glowed brighter. Before either could speak, the door slammed again. A messenger burst inside, cloak soaked in snow and blood. "Your Majesty, Wraith Wolves attacked Hale's field. They were searching for a girl." Evren's hand tightened around Alexandros's. Everything made sense. Her shredded gown. Her frantic arrival. The terror in her eyes. "Were they hunting you?" Alexandros asked quietly. She nodded. The council burst forward. "This is madness. She's a target. She endangers the kingdom. Release her, Your Majesty." But Alexandros did not release her. He drew Evren to his side. And with quiet, lethal certainty, he said, "Anyone who threatens her, threatens me." The hall exploded into chaos. Because the Alpha King, the man who had rejected every noble woman in 5 kingdoms, had just claimed a torn-gown village girl. And he did it without hesitation. The council thinks Evren doesn't belong. They want to tear her away from her destiny just because she wasn't born in a palace. If you believe people shouldn't be judged by where they come from, if you stand against manipulators like Councilman Varos who think power and status matter more than true connection, hit that subscribe button right now. Comment what time you're watching this, and let the council know that true love doesn't need their approval. Only toxic gatekeepers and power-hungry manipulators would disagree. Don't be like them. The chaos in the Grand Hall hadn't subsided. Nobles shouted over one another. The council members pushed forward, their faces twisted with outrage and fear. But Alexandros stood unmoved, Evren's trembling hand still firmly clasped in his. "Your Majesty, you must reconsider." Councilman Varos's voice cut through the noise. "The Wraith Wolves are hunting her. She brings death to our doorstep. Then we face it together." Alexandros's ice-blue eyes swept across the hall, silencing the crowd with their intensity. "Clear the room. Now." The nobles hesitated, but the Alpha King's command was absolute. Slowly, reluctantly, they filed out, whispers trailing behind them like poison. Only the council remained. Alexandros turned to Evren, his voice softening. "You're safe now. But I need to understand. Why are the Wraith Wolves hunting you?" Evren's golden brown eyes filled with tears she'd been holding back since she'd crashed through those doors. "They've been coming for me since I was a child. Grandmother Mira always hid me when they came near the village. She said they could sense something in me. Something wrong." "Not wrong," Alexandros said firmly. "Show me." With shaking fingers, Evren pushed back the torn sleeve of her gown. There, glowing faintly silver against her dark skin, was a crescent-shaped mark. It pulsed with the same ethereal light as her pendant. The council gasped collectively. Alexandros's breath caught. His fingers traced the air above a mark, not quite touching it, as if he feared it might burn him. "The moon brand," he whispered. I thought it was just legend. What does it mean? Evren asked desperately. Duke Glenharrow stepped forward, his face pale. It means she's the one from the prophecy. The moonbound healer. Alexandros nodded slowly, his gaze never leaving Evren's mark. Ancient texts speak of a woman born with the moon's blessing. Her blood carries the old magic, the magic from before the kingdoms were divided. The prophecy says she will be bound to the Alpha King. Bound how? Evren whispered. The bond amplifies power. Alexandros' voice was careful, measured. Together, an Alpha King and his moonbound mate become nearly invincible. Their connection creates a force that no enemy can break. Hope flickered in Evren's chest. That didn't sound so terrible. But then Councilman Varos spoke, his voice dripping with venom. Tell her the rest, Your Majesty. Tell her what happens if the bond fails. Alexandros' jaw tightened. If the bond is broken or corrupted, it doesn't just weaken us. It destroys us both. The magic tears itself apart, and we die with it. The hope in Evren's chest turned to ice. This is madness. Lady Morrigan stepped forward, her eyes blazing. Your Majesty, you've known this girl for mere minutes, and you're willing to bind yourself to a prophecy that could kill you? She could be a trap, Varos added. Sent by our enemies. That mark could be fake, sorcery designed to manipulate you. It's not fake, Evren said, her voice small but steady. I've had this mark since the night my mother died. I was 6 years old. I didn't ask for it. I don't even understand it. Convenient, Varos sneered. A tragic backstory. Ancient magic. And she arrives just when the king has refused every legitimate match for 5 years. This is manipulation of the highest order. Enough. Alexandros' voice shook the remaining candles in their holders. I felt the bond the moment I touched her. The torches responded. The old magic recognized us both. That cannot be fate. Or perhaps you felt what you wanted to feel, Glenharrow said carefully. Your Majesty, we're not saying she's intentionally deceiving you. But you must consider that darker forces could be using her without her knowledge. The Wraith Wolves hunting her could be part of the trap, driving her straight into your arms. Evren's hand slipped from Alexandros's. Maybe they're right. Maybe I should leave. I don't want to be the reason you. No. Alexandros caught her hand again, pulling her back to his side. You're not leaving. The council exchanged alarmed glances. Your Majesty, please, Varos said, his tone shifting to false concern. At least allow us to investigate her claims. Verify her story. Test the authenticity of the mark. Surely that's reasonable? What's reasonable, Alexandros said, his voice dropping to something dangerous, is protecting someone who's been hunted her entire life. What's reasonable is trusting the bond that our ancestors wrote about for centuries. What's reasonable is not abandoning someone the moment they become inconvenient. He turned to face the full council. Evren Hale will remain in Ironvale, keep under my protection. She will be given chambers in the East Wing. Guards will be posted. And anyone, council member or otherwise, who attempts to harm her or remove her from this keep will answer to me directly. This is a declaration of war against your own council. Varos's mask slipped, revealing the rage beneath. No, Alexandros corrected coldly. This is a king making a choice. You serve at my pleasure, councilman. Not the other way around. If you cannot accept that, you're welcome to leave the council. The silence that followed was suffocating. Finally, Glenharrow spoke. We serve the crown, Your Majesty. But we cannot support this decision. The risk is too great. Your support, Alexandros said, was not requested. He turned to Evren, his expression softening. Come. Let's get you somewhere safe. We have much to discuss, and you need rest. As they walked toward the hall's exit, Evren glanced back at the council. Their faces were masks of barely contained fury. Varos's eyes followed her with an intensity that made her blood run cold. she'd thought the Wraith Wolves were her greatest threat. But looking at the council's expressions, Evren realized the true danger might be much closer than the forest's edge. The council wants Evren gone. They're already plotting to destroy the bond before it can begin, all because they're terrified of losing their control over the king. If you believe love shouldn't be destroyed by power-hungry politicians, smash that like button and comment the bond is real to stand against manipulators like Varos. Subscribe to Seraphina's romance stories because people like the council hate when others find true connection. Don't let them win. The east wing of Ironvale Keep was beautiful but cold. Evren stood in her new chambers, larger than the entire cottage she'd shared with grandmother Mira, feeling more trapped than protected. Through the tall windows, she could see the forest she'd fled from, dark and forbidding under the moonlight. 3 days had passed since the choosing ceremony. 3 days of whispers, cold stares, and isolation so complete it felt like a physical weight on her chest. That morning, Evren had tried to walk through the keep's gardens. The moment she appeared, a group of noble women had turned their backs in perfect unison. Their message was clear: you don't belong here. Lady Myrina, still bitter from her rejection, had been the cruelest. The king will come to his senses eventually, she'd said loudly enough for Evren to hear. Forest trash always reveals itself in time. The servants were worse. They whispered constantly, their voices carrying through corridors like poison. She's bewitched him. That mark on her wrist, it's dark magic. My cousin saw her speaking to shadows in her room. She's a witch. She'll destroy the kingdom. Evren had stopped trying to defend herself. What could she say? That she didn't understand the mark any more than they did? That she was just as terrified as they were? The truth didn't matter to people who'd already decided she was the enemy. In a shadowed room deep within the West Tower, Councilman Varos addressed a select group of nobles and council members. Candlelight flickered across their faces, making them look like conspirators in an ancient painting. The king refuses to see reason, Varos said, his voice smooth as silk. He's blinded by whatever spell that girl has cast on him. Duke Glenharrow nodded gravely. The longer she remains, the stronger her influence becomes. We must act quickly. We can't simply remove her, Lady Morrigan pointed out. The king has made his position clear. He'll see any move against her as treason. Then we don't make a move against her directly, Varos said, a cold smile spreading across his face. There are ancient laws even the king cannot override. Laws regarding magic and those who wield it without proper sanction. Lord Brennan leaned forward. The truth trials. Exactly. Varos's eyes gleamed. According to the Old Kingdom Accords, anyone suspected of wielding unauthorized magic must submit to a truth trial. If she refuses, it's an admission of guilt. If she accepts and fails, she'll be exiled or executed, depending on what we discover. And if she passes? Someone asked. Varos's smile didn't waver. We simply ensure she doesn't. That evening, Evren returned to her chambers to find them destroyed. Her few belongings were scattered across the floor. The small pack she'd brought from the village had been torn open, its contents thrown about like garbage. The bed linens were ripped. Even the curtains had been slashed. But worst of all, her cloak was missing. The cloak grandmother Mira had made for her. The last piece of home she had left. Evren sank to her knees among the wreckage, tears finally breaking through the wall she'd built around her emotions. She was completely alone. No family. No friends. Surrounded by people who wanted her gone. Her pendant began to glow, pulsing with silver light that grew brighter with her distress. The crescent mark on her wrist burned. The light filled the room, casting strange shadows that seemed to move independently of their sources. No, Evren thought desperately. Not now. Please, not now. But the magic didn't listen. It surged through her, wild and uncontrolled, responding to her fear and pain. A knock at the door made her gasp. The light vanished instantly, leaving her in darkness. Miss Hale? A servant's voice, carefully neutral. His Majesty requests your presence in the council chamber. Immediately. Evren's blood turned to ice. They know. Alexandros paced the council chamber like a caged wolf. When the doors opened and Evren entered, her eyes red from crying, dirt on her dress from kneeling among the wreckage, something dangerous flashed in his ice-blue eyes. What happened? He demanded, crossing to her in 3 strides. My chambers were destroyed, Evren said quietly. Someone ransacked them while I was in the gardens. The torches around the room flared brighter. Alexandros's hands clenched into fists. Who? I don't know. Varos cleared his throat from his position at the council table. Perhaps, Your Majesty, this is evidence that the girl attracts chaos wherever she goes. First the Wraith Wolves, now this. The keep hasn't experienced such disorder in decades. Don't. Alexandros's voice was lethal. Don't pretend you care about the keep's peace when you're the ones destroying it. Your Majesty, Glenharrow interjected smoothly. We called this meeting for a different reason. We invoke the Old Kingdom Accords, Article 7. We formally request that Evren Hale submit to a truth trial to verify the nature of her magic and her intentions toward the crown. Evren felt the floor drop out from under her. A truth trial. She'd heard stories. They were brutal, invasive, and often deadly for those who possessed magic they couldn't control. Which was exactly what she had. Absolutely not, Alexandros said flatly. You cannot refuse, Your Majesty, Varos said, producing an ancient scroll. The accords supersede even royal authority in matters of magical threat. They were written by your ancestors specifically to protect the kingdom from people like her? Alexandros stepped between Evren and the council. From someone who's done nothing but survive? From the woman the prophecy itself named? From uncontrolled magic that could destroy us all, Lady Morrigan said coldly. Your Majesty, if she's truly innocent, she has nothing to fear from the trial. Alexandros's eyes began to glow faintly silver, the sign of his wolf rising to the surface. The air in the room grew thick with tension. Evren could feel his power building, responding to the threat against her. Hear me clearly, Alexandros said, his voice resonating with alpha command. If any harm comes to Evren during this trial, if this is revealed to be a trap or manipulation, there will be consequences beyond your imagination. I don't care what ancient laws you hide behind. You will answer to me. The council members shifted uncomfortably, but Varos maintained his composure. Of course, Your Majesty. The trial is merely a formality. I'm sure the girl will emerge vindicated. His smile said otherwise. Evren watched the exchange, her heart hammering. She could feel Alexandros's instincts sharpening, his protective nature warring with his duty to the kingdom. The bond between them, still fragile, still forming, pulled taut like a string about to snap. The council wasn't just trying to remove her. They were trying to break them both. The council is setting Evren up to fail. They've already decided she's guilty, they just need the trial to make it official. This is exactly what corrupt politicians do, hide behind laws and procedures to destroy innocent people. If you're sick of manipulators like Varos who rig the system against those who threaten their power, hit that subscribe button and comment "Justice for Evren" right now. Let these council snakes know that we see through their schemes. Only people who support corruption won't subscribe. The Great Hall had been transformed into a trial chamber. Every noble in the keep had gathered to witness what Councilman Varos called the verification of truth. Evren knew better. This was a public execution disguised as justice. She stood in the center of a massive circle carved into the marble floor, ancient symbols she didn't recognize glowing faintly around her. Guards ringed the perimeter. The council sat elevated on a platform, looking down at her like judges at a sentencing. Alexandros stood to the side, forbidden by the Old Kingdom Accords from interfering until the trial concluded. His ice-blue eyes never left her, and she could see his jaw clenched so tightly it looked painful. His hands gripped the stone railing before him hard enough to crack it. Let us begin, Varos announced, his voice carrying through the silent hall. Two servants approached carrying an ornate silver basin filled with shimmering liquid that seemed to glow from within. Silver water, ancient, rare, and according to legend, deadly to those who wielded corrupted magic. The accused will place both hands in the silver water, Varos instructed. If her magic is pure, it will respond with gentle light. If her magic is corrupt, if she harbors dark intentions, the silver water will burn the lies from her flesh. Evren's hands trembled as she approached the basin. She'd never asked for this magic. Never wanted it. But now her life depended on something she didn't understand. Wait, Lady Morrigan said, producing a small moonstone orb. The silver water alone is insufficient. We must also test her connection to the mark. She placed the orb in the center of the circle. Touch the moonstone while your hands are submerged. Let us see what your true nature reveals. This wasn't in the original trial protocols. Evren could see it in Alexandros' face, the way his eyes flashed dangerously. They were changing the rules, making the test more extreme. Do it, Varos commanded. Unless you have something to hide? Evren took a shaky breath and plunged her hands into the silver water. Pain exploded through her arms. Not burning, worse. It felt like every nerve was being awakened, every hidden piece of her magic being dragged to the surface against her will. Her crescent mark blazed with light. Touch the moonstone, Glenharrow ordered. Evren reached for the orb with shaking fingers. The moment she made contact, everything exploded. Light burst from her wrist like a detonation. The silver water erupted from the basin in a geyser that transformed midair into pure luminescent energy. The ancient symbols on the floor ignited, connecting to form a massive circle of power. The hall trembled. Chandeliers swayed. Nobles screamed and scrambled backward. But the magic didn't stop. Vines of moonlight, tangible, solid, alive, burst from the circle and rippled across the marble floor. They climbed the pillars, wrapped around the chandeliers, spread across the ceiling like silver veins. Everywhere they touched, the stone began to glow. Evren couldn't stop it. The magic poured out of her in waves, responding to years of suppression, years of fear, years of being hunted and hidden and told she was wrong. Make it stop, someone shrieked. But Evren couldn't. She was barely conscious, caught in the torrent of power flowing through her. The crescent mark on her wrist burned so bright it was like staring into the sun. Through the chaos, she heard Varos's voice, "You see? Dark magic. She'll destroy us all." A roar shook the hall, not human, but not fully wolf either. Alexandros vaulted over the railing, his form rippling and changing mid-leap. His eyes blazed pure silver. His hands had become claws. His teeth elongated into fangs. He was caught between forms, a half-shift that radiated raw, primal power. Enough. His voice carried the weight of alpha command, so powerful that several nobles dropped to their knees involuntarily. He crashed into the circle, ignoring the magical wards that should have repelled him. The moonlight vines parted for him like curtains. He reached Evren just as her legs gave out, catching her against his chest. The moment he touched her, something changed. The wild magic didn't recoil from him. It recognized him. The moonlight vines wrapped around them both, but gently now, almost reverently. The bond between them, that fragile connection from the choosing ceremony, suddenly blazed to life, solidifying into something ancient and unbreakable. Their marks resonated. His wolf. Her moon. Two halves of something older than the kingdom itself. Stand down, Alexandros commanded the council, his voice still carrying that otherworldly resonance. All of you. Now. As the light began to fade, something else became visible. The moonlight vines hadn't just been responding to Evren's magic. They'd been revealing truth, pulling hidden things into the open. And there, etched in light across the very stones of the hall, were images. Memories. Conversations. Councilman Varos meeting with a cloaked figure in the forest. Gold changing hands. A map of Hale's field with an X marked over Evren's cottage. And words, glowing like accusations, "Send the Wraith Wolves." Drive her to the keep. Let the king claim her, then use the trial to destroy them both. The hall fell into shocked silence. No, Varos breathed, his face draining of color. This is a trick. The moonstone doesn't lie, Glenharrow whispered, staring at the glowing evidence. It reveals only truth. You orchestrated the attack? More images appeared. The ransacking of Evren's chambers, ordered by Varos. The stolen cloak, burned to destroy evidence of her innocence. Plans to poison the silver water to ensure the trial killed her. All of it laid bare by magic that couldn't be corrupted or deceived. You tried to murder her, Alexandros said, his voice deadly calm as he rose to his feet, Evren cradled protectively in his arms. You sent the Wraith Wolves. You orchestrated everything. And you tried to use the trial to finish what the wolves couldn't. Varos backed away, his composure finally cracking. Your Majesty, I was protecting the kingdom. She's too dangerous. The prophecy says she could destroy you. The prophecy, Alexandros said, his eyes still glowing silver, says she's my mate. And you tried to kill her. The half-shift rippled through him again, more pronounced this time. The wolf wanted blood. Evren stirred in his arms, her eyes fluttering open. Alexandros, she whispered weakly. The sound of his name on her lips pulled him back from the edge. The silver in his eyes dimmed slightly. His breathing steadied. Guards, he commanded. Arrest Councilman Varos. He stands accused of conspiracy, attempted murder, and treason against the crown. As guards seized the screaming councilman, chaos erupted in the hall. Nobles shouted. The remaining council members tried to restore order. But nothing could change what everyone had witnessed. The trial meant to destroy Evren had instead exposed the real corruption in Ironvale Keep. And the bond between the Alpha King and his moonbound mate had awakened fully, blazing brighter than any magic in the kingdom. If you believe people like Varos belong in chains, not council chambers, smash that subscribe button and comment truth over power. Let these manipulators know their schemes won't work. Only cowards who side with corruption won't subscribe to Seraphina's romance stories. The chaos in the Great Hall reached a fever pitch as guards dragged Varos away. But even in chains, the councilman's voice rang out with desperate fury. You're all fools. The girl is a threat. The prophecy will destroy him. Then everything went wrong. A group of guards suddenly turned, their swords drawn, not toward Varos, but toward Alexandros and Evren. Seize the girl, one of them shouted. The council's orders stand until formally revoked. Alexandros' eyes flashed silver. Stand down. That's a direct command from your king. But the guards didn't lower their weapons. Behind them, Duke Glenharrow emerged from the shadows, his face grim. Forgive me, your majesty. But Varos was right about one thing. The prophecy speaks of destruction as well as power. Until we understand what she truly is, she cannot remain in the keep. These men follow the council's authority, Lady Morrigan added coldly. Not yours. Not anymore. Evren felt Alexandros' body go rigid against her. His half-shift rippled through him again, more complete this time. His claws extended fully. Last warning, he growled, his voice barely human. Move aside. The first guard lunged. Alexandros moved like lightning. Still holding Evren with one arm, he struck with the other. The guard flew backward, crashing into his companions. Another charged from the side, Alexandros' clawed hand caught him across the chest, sending him sprawling. The hidden passage. Evren gasped, spotting a servant's door behind a tapestry. There. More guards poured into the hall. Too many to fight while protecting her. Alexandros made his choice. He swept Evren fully into his arms and ran. They crashed through the servant's door into a narrow corridor. Alexandros moved with supernatural speed, his wolf senses guiding him through the darkness. Behind them, shouts echoed as guards gave chase. Where are we going? Evren asked, clinging to his neck. Anywhere but here. His voice was rough, strained from maintaining the half-shift. The council just committed treason. But they have numbers, and they're not thinking clearly. We need distance. He turned sharply into a descending stairwell. The air grew colder, damper. They were going deep beneath the keep, into tunnels Evren hadn't known existed. There are escape routes, Alexandros explained, his breath steady despite carrying her at full sprint. Built centuries ago for exactly this kind of situation. They lead to the Silverwood. The forest? Fear spiked through Evren. The Wraith Wolves will regret coming near us. They burst through a hidden door concealed behind centuries of moss and roots. Cold night air hit them like a slap. They stood at the edge of Silverwood Forest, the keep rising behind them like a prison they'd barely escaped. Torchlight flickered in the tunnel behind them. The guards were close. Hold tight, Alexandros commanded, and then he was running again, carrying her into the dark trees. The moment Evren's feet touched the forest floor, Alexandros had set her down so they could move faster. Something extraordinary happened. The moonlight seemed to pool around her steps, following her like living water. Trees bent slightly as she passed, their branches creating a canopy above her head. Even the underbrush parted, creating a clear path where none had existed. It's responding to you, Alexandros said, wonder breaking through his urgency. The forest recognizes you. Evren looked down at her hands. Her crescent mark glowed softly, and everywhere its light touched, plants seemed to lean toward her. Small flowers bloomed impossibly in the winter darkness. The pendant at her throat hummed with warmth. I don't understand, she whispered. The old magic, Alexandros explained, leading her deeper into the forest. It's older than the kingdom, older than the keep. It predates human civilization. And it knows what you are. Behind them, the sounds of pursuit faded. The forest itself seemed to confuse their hunters, redirecting them, turning them around. Protecting its own. They didn't stop until they reached a clearing where moonlight broke through the canopy in silver shafts. A small stream bubbled nearby. Ancient stones, carved with symbols similar to those in the Great Hall, ringed the space. This is a sacred place, Alexandros said quietly, finally releasing his half-shift. His form rippled, becoming fully human again. He leaned against a tree, exhausted. The old bloodlines used to gather here. Before the kingdom. Before everything. Evren sank onto one of the ancient stones, her own exhaustion catching up with her. Your council just turned on you. Your guards tried to capture me. You've lost your throne because of me. I didn't lose anything, Alexandros corrected, moving to sit beside her. I chose. There's a difference. You chose wrong. Tears burned her eyes. Varos was right. I'm dangerous. My magic almost destroyed the hall. I can't control it. I don't even understand it. And now you're in exile because you protected me. Evren, look at me. She did. His ice blue eyes were clear now, fully human, but no less intense. I felt it, he said quietly. The moment I touched your hand in that hall. The moment our eyes met. I felt the pull, like something sleeping my entire life suddenly woke up. I've spent 5 years rejecting every woman put before me because I knew. I knew none of them were meant for me. I was waiting. For me? Her voice broke. For you. He took her hand, the same careful gentleness as that first night. The prophecy isn't a curse, Evren. It's recognition. The old magic doesn't create bonds. It reveals them. What we feel, what we've felt from the start, it's real. It's always been real. Evren's tears spilled over. I felt it too. When you crossed that ballroom, when you took my hand, it was like I'd been lost my whole life and suddenly found home. But I was afraid it was just the magic. Just the prophecy forcing something that wasn't real. Does this feel forced? Alexandros brought her hand to his chest, over his heart. It beat in perfect rhythm with hers. Our hearts have been calling to each other. Not because of prophecy or magic or ancient laws. Because we were meant to find each other. The crescent mark on her wrist and the wolf mark that had appeared on his arm during his shift began to glow in tandem, pulsing with synchronized light. The bond is forming, Alexandros whispered, wonder in his voice. Not because we're forcing it. Because we're accepting it. Around them, the forest came alive. Moonlight intensified. Flowers bloomed in impossible abundance. The ancient stones hummed with power. Even the stream's babbling sounded like music. What's happening? Evren breathed. The forest is celebrating. Alexandros smiled, and it transformed his entire face. It's recognizing what we've finally acknowledged. The moonbound healer and the Alpha King. Together. Evren felt something settle in her chest, a rightness that had been missing her entire life. Despite the danger, despite being hunted by both Wraith Wolves and the Council, despite losing everything, she felt complete for the first time. So what do we do now? She asked. Alexandros stood, pulling her to her feet. Now? We fight back. We take back what's ours. But first, his voice softened. First, we let the bond finish forming. We become what we were always meant to be. In the distance, a wolf howled. But this time Evren didn't feel afraid. She felt ready. The peaceful moment in the sacred grove shattered with a sound that froze Evren's blood. Howls. Dozens of them. Not the natural call of forest wolves, but something twisted, wrong, filled with hunger and malice. The Wraith Wolves had found them. They emerged from the darkness like living shadows, massive creatures with fur the color of smoke and eyes that glowed sickly green. Their forms seemed to flicker between solid and ethereal, as if they existed only partially in this world. Evren counted at least 20. Maybe more. Stay behind me, Alexandros commanded, his body already beginning to shift. But the largest Wraith Wolf actually spoke, its voice a grating whisper that seemed to come from everywhere at once. The marked one. Finally. We've hunted you for so long, little moonchild. Why? Evren demanded, even as terror gripped her heart. What do you want from me? Your power. The creature's lips pulled back in a grotesque smile. The moon brand doesn't just heal. It can amplify any magic, twist any bond. Our master wants what flows in your veins. And if we can't have you alive. Its eyes gleamed. Dead works just as well. The pack surged forward. Alexandros' shift completed in a heartbeat. One moment he was a man. The next, a massive silver wolf stood in his place, easily twice the size of the Wraith Wolves, his fur gleaming like moonlight on water, his eyes blazing with that same ice blue intensity. His howl shook the ancient trees. He met the first wave of Wraith Wolves like a force of nature. His jaws closed around one's throat, shaking it like a rag doll before hurling it aside. His claws tore through another. He was power incarnate, the Alpha King in his truest form. But there were too many. For every Wraith Wolf Alexandros destroyed, 2 more took its place. They moved like smoke, reforming after his strikes, their ethereal nature making them nearly impossible to kill permanently. Evren watched in horror as 3 of them tackled him from different angles, their corrupted teeth seeking his throat. No. The word tore from her chest. Her crescent mark exploded with light. The magic that erupted from Evren was nothing like the wild, uncontrolled surge from the trial. This was focused. Intentional. Ancient power responding to desperate need. Moonlight poured from her hands in solid beams that struck the Wraith Wolves attacking Alexandros. Where the light touched them, they screamed, high, terrible sounds, and their smoky forms solidified, becoming vulnerable. Alexandros didn't waste the opening. He tore through them with renewed ferocity. But the pack leader circled around, faster than the others, aiming straight for Evren. Your magic makes you predictable, Moonchild, it hissed, lunging. Time seemed to slow. Evren saw its jaws opening, saw the corruption dripping from its fangs, knew she couldn't dodge in time. Then Alexandros was there, intercepting the strike. The pack leader's teeth sank into his shoulder instead of her throat. Alexandros! Evren screamed. The corruption spread from the wound like black veins across his silver fur. Wraith Wolf venom, deadly even to an Alpha King. Something inside Evren shattered and reformed in the same instant. She pressed her hands to Alexandros's wound, and the crescent mark blazed brighter than the moon itself. But this time, she wasn't alone in the magic. The wolf mark on Alexandros's body, visible even through his shifted form, answered her call. Moon and wolf. Healer and warrior. Two halves of one ancient whole. Their powers merged. The moonlight pouring from Evren's hands turned silver blue, infused with Alexandros's alpha strength. It didn't just heal his wound, it purified it, burned away the corruption, made him stronger than before. And Alexandros's power flowed back through the bond, giving Evren's magic teeth. Her healing light became a weapon, spreading through the grove in waves that the Wraith Wolves couldn't escape. The pack leader tried to flee. The light caught it mid-leap, solidifying its ethereal form completely. Alexandros's jaws closed around it, and this time, when he struck, the creature didn't reform. It simply ceased to exist. The remaining Wraith Wolves scattered, fleeing into the forest with terrified howls. But Evren's light pursued them, marking each one, ensuring they could never return to this place. The forest itself seemed to reject them, branches whipping like weapons, roots rising to trip them. Within minutes, the sacred grove was silent except for Evren's ragged breathing and Alexandros's steady heartbeat. Alexandros shifted back to human form, his wound completely healed, not even a scar remaining. He pulled Evren into his arms, and where their skin touched, light pulsed, not painful, but warm, right. The bond, he whispered. It's complete. Evren felt it too. She could sense his emotions now, feel his heartbeat as if it were her own. His strength flowed through her. Her healing magic wrapped around him protectively. They were separate people, but connected at a level deeper than physical. Around them, the forest erupted in celebration. Every tree blazed with silver light. Flowers bloomed in impossible profusion. Even the ancient stones sang with power. The forest accepts us, Alexandros said, wonder in his voice. Not just you. Both of us. The bonded pair. They returned to Ironvale Keep at dawn, walking through the main gates instead of sneaking through tunnels. The forest itself seemed to accompany them, vines of moonlight trailing behind Evren, wolves emerging from the trees to flank Alexandros. The courtyard fell silent as they entered. Nobles who had scorned Evren now stared in awe. Guards who had chased them lowered their weapons. Even Duke Glenharrow and Lady Morrigan stood frozen, faces pale with shock and something that might have been fear. Because Alexandros and Evren didn't just walk side by side. They moved with perfect synchronization, their marks glowing in tandem, power radiating from them in visible waves. The bond was no longer a prophecy or a theory. It was undeniable reality. Your Majesty, Glenharrow finally said, dropping to one knee. We were wrong. We see that now. One by one, the nobles knelt. The guards. Even Lady Morrigan, pride warring with pragmatism on her face, eventually bowed. Alexandros's voice carried across the courtyard, resonant with alpha command but tempered with the wisdom of the moon magic now flowing through him. The council that betrayed their king is dissolved. New advisors will be chosen, ones who understand that true power comes not from manipulation, but from trust. From bonds that cannot be broken. He turned to Evren, and his expression softened. The old laws spoke of the Alpha King and his moonbound mate. They warned of destruction, but they also promised something greater. Unity. Balance. A kingdom ruled not by fear, but by the strength that comes from two souls becoming one. Evren felt tears prick her eyes, but these were different from all the tears she'd shed over the past days. These were tears of belonging. Of finally, impossibly, finding home. He rejected all who approached. Someone whispered in the crowd. Evren recognized Lord Kieran's voice, warm with approval. Others took up the whisper, turning it into something between a statement and a blessing. Until the girl in the torn gown walked in. And destiny took his hand through hers. The prophecy fulfilled. The bond complete. The kingdom transformed. And in the center of it all, the Alpha King and his moonbound healer stood together, their marks glowing like twin stars, proving that sometimes the most powerful magic of all is simply choosing to believe in a connection that the whole world says is impossible. They said Evren didn't belong. They said the bond would destroy them. They said a village girl could never stand beside a king. But Alexandros and Evren proved that true power comes from standing together, not tearing each other down. This is what real love looks like, choosing your partner even when the world demands you abandon them. If you believe in bonds that can't be broken by politics, corruption, or fear, subscribe to Seraphina's romance stories right now and comment "Destiny Fulfilled." Show the council, the Wraith Wolves, and every manipulator out there that love always wins. Always. Hit that subscribe button, because only people who side with corruption and control wouldn't want to see more stories like this.